morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for all the IPA members for attending the 2021 AGM. This is the second year that the world experiencing the pandemic of COVID-19. It is still very challenging though, especially for the activities in the field as well as the activities in our offices. Okay, but thank God that most of us are in a good and healthy condition. That's what's important. Yeah. In my opinion, year 2021 is also very challenging for the oil and gas industry due to strong dual challenges that this industry now facing. One is about the production target of 1 million barrel oil per day and 12 BCFD gas by 2030, which is only 9 years away. Yeah. And then secondly, the target to control and reduce the carbon emission in line with the Paris Agreement. So all the discussions with government this year were done involving those two challenges. Okay. Today, we are gathering in the IPA Annual General Meeting to discuss the summary of the 2021 work from the IPA President as well as from the committees. This year, in my opinion, gives a lot of progress. But however, there are still a lot to be done next year. Let's see the agenda for this AGM. Okay. After my meeting, Gary Selby as the 2021 IPA President will give his report to you. Okay. And then we will show you the video presentation of the IPA committees, followed by 4 presentations. The first presentation is from Ali Nasir, RAC, with topic of regulatory update on where are we on key regulations. And then Hendra Halim from Finance and Tax with the topic of the challenging journey to improve Indonesia's fiscal competitiveness. Denny Riyadi from Energy Transition Committee will have the topic of the role of oil and gas industry in the Indonesian energy transition era. And then Ferry Sarjana from ICM, will have the topic of unlocking the SCM potential through collaboration and simplification of business process in upstream oil and gas industry. Okay, and we will have a presentation to you about the IPA Secretariat Office move. Okay, it will be followed by me with IPA financial report. As you all know that in October and November this year, we already finished our election. And today, in this AGM, we would like to announce the 2022 IPA Supervisory Board and Board of Directors. And to remind you about our committees, I will also show you the committee chairperson and vice chairperson. So with that, I hope you know what committees that we have here in IPA. Okay. And then even though the 2022 IPA president cannot attend this meeting because he's flying to US at the same time, but you will hear from the video that he prepared the speech on the direction for next year. And then the last thing is more Q&A is very welcome because we need your input, and then after that I will close this meeting. So thank you very much for attending the meeting, and let's start this meeting. Oh, sorry, let me tell you that most of you attend this meeting through Zoom. This is already the second time that we have our AGM through Zoom. But we try a little bit change. We have some people here with me in the Premier office. We have Gary, the IPA president. We have Kevin, the treasury. yeah, of the board, yeah. The other two officers that's supposed to be here because of other meeting, they will only join us through online. That's Ronald Gunawan and also Taufik, but they are in this meeting through online. Okay, so let's start this meeting with Gary with your 2021 report. Over to you, Gary.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Mehdi. I'm going to take my mask off so you can hear me more clearly. But Osman, can we share my slides, please? So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the AGM. It's hard to believe 2021 is almost over. It doesn't feel like 12 months since we had the last AGM. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to give you a brief update on the situation in 2021 and also what the IPA has achieved this year and what I guess what we have not achieved and what still needs to continue into 2022. So just in terms of the macro situation globally and in Indonesia, I think Ibu Mehdi touched on some of these points, but I think we'd all agree it's another unprecedented year in terms of challenges for us as an industry. Next. COVID-19 remained with us throughout the year, even though I think at the start of the year we were hoping it might be gone by this time. And as we've seen over recent 2 or 3 weeks with new variants coming on the scene, I think it's likely to be with us for some time to come. We've also seen increasing pressure from all directions to quickly transition to cleaner energy sources, and that was probably most evident last month when the COP26 event was held in Glasgow, with many of the countries committing to even larger and faster reductions in emissions. What does that mean for us? Obviously, there's reduced funding available for upstream oil and gas projects. And again, as we've seen this year, exploration has been particularly hard hit, with many of the major companies readjusting their portfolios, slashing their exploration budgets, actually readjusting their geographic footprint as well, with many of them returning to their home markets and focusing on US shale with less international business. Activity levels have remained pretty low for most of 2021, and another very tough year for our associate members in the service sector. However, so those points were all in red. I think there is hopefully some light at the end of the tunnel. In the second half of this year, oil and gas prices have recovered strongly. I think those of us who are in the gas business can look at spot LNG as an extreme example of that, with spot LNG prices almost at all-time highs at the moment, and a bit of a crisis actually in terms of spot LNG availability. International travel is starting to slowly pick up again, although, as I say, the last couple of weeks with the Omicron variant, that's probably been delayed somewhat. But people are starting to travel again, and countries are gradually starting to open up. And activity levels in oil and gas, I think, are also starting to pick up. I can't see Devon and Ronan and Paiwan, but you're probably nodding. Activity levels are starting to pick up. I think the 2022 outlook in terms of activity levels is better, and we've seen that again in the last 2 or 3 months. We've seen that in terms of rig availability and market rates. They are starting to slowly pick up, which is healthy for everyone. So let's hope we're past the worst and things will improve in 2022. Next, please, Osman. So in terms of IPA's objectives for 2021, hopefully you should all be familiar with these, but we agreed these at the start of the year. We created a dedicated energy transition committee for the first time to help, voice the industry's concerns and try and establish our role in the energy transition process. We established a joint work group with SKK Migas to start working on the actual roadmap to realise the long-term production goals, the 1 million barrels and the 12 BCF a day by 2030. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I think that working group's been very successful, as Ibu Mehdi mentioned. A lot of positive collaboration so far this year. We also did quite a bit of work on trying to explain to SKK Migas and the government what a typical rate of return would look like, and what it would take actually to attract particularly foreign investors to invest in oil and gas projects in Indonesia. And again, I think that those conversations have started to land with the government. And again, the last two are kind of catch-all statements, but as always, just seeking to participate and contribute through the various focus discussion groups, task forces, etc., with the government on the various issues that we face, and continue to be an effective influencer on behalf of the upstream oil and gas business in Indonesia. Energy transition, we've probably heard, well, we have for sure heard more about this in 2021 than in any previous year. As we know, Indonesia have signed up to the Paris Agreement and reconfirmed that at COP26 recently. And although the contribution of our industry to the state budget has reduced, it's clearly a very important factor for the national economy, and will continue to be so for many years and decades to come. But nonetheless, more of the global investment funds are going towards clean energy projects, and hence that leaves less for us in traditional oil and gas. In light of that, obviously the government need to improve their competitiveness, and I think that's recognised. As I say, the government now are more open to independent surveys and audits of where Indonesia ranks in terms of their neighbours and their peers, and I think clearly the government here have recognised that they need to increase the competitiveness in light of these various factors. And of course, we have to reduce our emissions quickly. Again, I think that's been a topic that we've heard many times this year, that although the companies and governments have set targets for 2050, 2060, in order to achieve those targets, we have to start now. So that, the energy transition is not something that's going to happen in 10 or 15 or 20 years. It needs to start now, and we need to start making real changes to how we do business. Some of the specifics in terms of the main regulations and laws that have been problematic for the industry, and in areas where we've been lobbying with the government. Tax is a big area, as always, for us, and there are various topics within the tax bracket, if you like. So carbon tax, again, has been a hot topic this year. With the new regulations rolled out, I think we're still trying to fully understand what that means for the industry. But again, healthy conversation, I think, and dialogue on a sensible and pragmatic application of carbon tax, and how we can do that without adversely impacting the investment climate here. VAT, lower corporate income tax rates. Again, these are still, I would say, live topics which need to be worked into the new year. EMR Regulation 37, 2016 on local government participating interests, and also the need to carry that 10% PI. Clearly, it challenges contract sanctity on many of our existing PSCs, and of course it erodes our economic returns if we have to do that. And again, a lot of work being done on that. I won't say too much because I think Ali and Hendra are probably going to discuss that in a bit more detail during their presentations. Tax again, in terms of indirect taxation, branch profit tax. These are still current issues, although there has been some progress again in 2021. I think some of our members, some of our board members in particular, have been able to secure additional incentives as compensation for the branch profit tax dispute, although it's been on a case-by-case basis rather than an industry-wide solution. So that, again, that continues to be a topic for several of our members as we move into next year. But on the upside, we've seen one oil and gas bid round earlier this year, which clearly demonstrated that the government are listening to us as an industry. There were several improvements made in the terms for that bid round. I think it's valid to still ask the question: is it enough? Are the additional incentives enough to really win the increasingly tough competition for global funds? And of course, for those of you that participated last week, either online or in Bali at the IOG conference, there was another bid round announced, and there were further improvements in terms of the proposed profit splits, etc. So clearly, the government do recognise the need to increase competitiveness, and I think that's largely due to the lobbying efforts of the IPA. The Convex this year, we successfully held the Convex. It was fully virtual due to the COVID restrictions, which was disappointing, but nonetheless the event was still a success. And as you would expect, we were largely focused on the apparent conflict between the desire to increase production significantly over the coming 9 years, while still complying with the national targets in terms of emission reductions. So some very interesting conversations at the Convex. It was encouraging for me to see that we were able to get high-level representation from the Ministry of Finance and from the Ministry of the Environment, which again shows that the IPA is seen as a credible and serious industry body. And the final point there on the Convex, I think we've probably recognised that there's some similarities between the IOG conference and the IPA Convex, and we just need to be careful that we don't end up competing. I think they're both good events, but we don't want to end up competing with each other. So we fairly quickly here, I think, need a conversation about what the 2022 Convex and beyond, what the Convex looks like, and how do we complement the IOG conference if that's going to become an annual event. So just to close and summarise, I think it's been a good year. I think we've made good progress on many fronts with much better collaboration with the various branches of government this year. But as always, it doesn't happen overnight, and several of these key issues need to be carried forward into 2022. I'll just close by thanking everyone for their support, both to me as an individual and also to the IPA as a group. I know many of the members allow their staff to spend a significant amount of time working on IPA issues and projects, and we really do appreciate that. The IPA could not function without your help and your support. So many thanks for that, and I hope that continues into 2022. And I'll leave it there. I'll wish my successor. It's supposed to be a secret, but I think Ibu Medi's already let it out of the bag. But I will wish my successor all the best of luck in 2022. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Let's watch the video of the short presentation from all of the committees. Osman?
We didn't give you a round of applause.
The crossover.
Good morning. Our members would like to sincerely thank SKK Migas and the IPA for the support in organizing access to COVID-19 vaccines. Keeping our people safe was our top priority in 2021 and continues in 2022, with many associate members having achieved 100% vaccination for both our field and our office-based staff, which will be our best protection. For 2022, our key focus will be to support the government of Indonesia, SKK Migas and operators to achieve the target of 1 million barrels of oil per day and 12 BCF gas per day by 2030. The target will require all parties to work together. We will advocate in 2022 to make more equitable the terms and conditions our members operate under and to help improve our members' cash position by simplification of the pre-invoicing and invoicing processes of the operators.
The 2021 IPA Conference was the first to be held virtually for both the convention and the exhibition, including 2 pre-events. It was an in-depth collaborative event with all the stakeholders, including Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, SKK Migas, Ministry of Finance, and Ministry of Forestry and Environment. The collaboration notably took place in the Ministerial Roundtable between the 3 ministries and the IPA President as the moderator. The virtual platform successfully gathered more than 10,000 registered participants with 23,000 visits. Wishing all the best for the IPA Conference 2022, which will be held on the 7th until the 9th September 2022 in hybrid format, both online and offline at Jakarta Convention Center.
An energy transition committee was formed early this year to signify IPA support to the government growth challenge, which is to increase oil and gas production and at the same time to reduce carbon emissions. Throughout this year, we managed to engage and advocate key stakeholders and involved in the drafting Minister Regulation on CCS and CCUS. With the issuance of Presidential Regulation on Carbon Economic Value in late October, we will continue to actively support and provide feedback to the government to ensure that implementing regulation and policies can strike the right balance between reducing carbon emission and maintaining the sustainability of oil and gas production that is imperative to the success of the national energy transition.
Despite COVID-19 pandemic, we continue having collaboration, engagement, and discussion among the team and also with government entities, such as Ministry of Energy, Dijen Migas, SKK Migas, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and others. We also welcome some new members into the committee who will definitely add expertise and experiences into the team. Next year, we will continue to support the energy transition program as well as advocating implementation and development of regulation to balance oil and gas industry's need, safety, environmental protection, and sustainability. Meanwhile, in parallel, continuously increasing capacity of ESCT member. Also, we involve in the government task force, which currently developing carbon capture regulations.
The COVID pandemic has greatly slowed down any activities. The Enhanced Oil Recovery and Unconventional Gas IPA Committee activity is no exception. This year, our activity is the same as last year and also the program for 2022. The most important activities that we push are first, pursue advocacy with the government to resolve EOR challenge, especially related to technology, legal, commercial, including incentive granting, legal certainty, and attract strategic partnership investment for EOR project implementation. Second one, promote routine discussion with worldwide EOR experts in pursuit to continuous broaden knowledge and proficiency of oil and gas company representative, independent, consultant, and government.
This year, Ethics and Compliance Committee focusing on 3 programs: authority engagement, stakeholder engagement, and best practice sharings among the members, focusing on business process simplifications and improvement that will support the strategy on 2030. On stakeholder engagement, this year we do ECC Goes to Campus involving ITB and University of Paramadina to outreach around 1,500 students, telling them about the importance of business integrity and anti-corruption programs. In 2022, we will continue that 3 focus. In addition, we will engage ASDM and Ministry of Finance anticipating increasing government hosting, and we will extend the collaborative actions with other national coalition anti-corruption.
This year, the Exploration Committee provided input for the government for the revision of Ministerial Decree 35/2008 and 5/2012 on oil and gas working area. We also provided input for the 2021 bid round terms. We witnessed the terms improvement in the first bid round, where we saw contract flexibility, a more attractive split, less FTP, biddable signature bonus, full price DMO, and other incentives and tax facilities. We highly appreciate the improvements offered by the government. However, we all need to keep putting in the extra effort because of the shift of investment focus in the upstream oil and gas industry. Global exploration expenditures will continue to decline in the years to come. The IPA Exploration Committee will continue working with the government to improve exploration activities and to be able to contribute to Indonesia's oil and gas production target.
Tahun ini tugas komite kami tidak lebih mudah dalam upaya meningkatkan iklim investasi Indonesia yang masih di bawah rata-rata global. Komite kami berupaya aktif dalam berbagai forum profesi, IPA Convex, IOG 2, dan pada terbentuknya peraturan diantaranya Undang-Undang Harmonisasi Perpajakan dan PP atas pajak transfer. Tahun depan kami akan melanjutkan program-program perbaikan fiscal terms yang telah disepakati oleh ISDM. Program tersebut dibutuhkan untuk semua jenis kontrak PSC, blok baru maupun lama, termasuk rencana EOR, R2P, dan pengembangan marginal fields. Harapan kami untuk dapat terus bersinergi dengan seluruh key stakeholders dalam upaya meningkatkan fiscal competitiveness Indonesia.
Human Resources Committee activities in 2021 have been focusing to survive the pandemic by protecting the health and safety of our workforce, for example with SKK Migas leadership in vaccinations, as well as to continuously improve and adapting to the government ever-changing regulations, in particular to the public activities restrictions levels. In 2022, with positive thinking, it's gonna be pandemic to the new normal, and of course to support the big inspirational goal of SKK Migas and energy transition, as well as to continuously strategic engagement and advocacy to the government with regards to people policy. Thank you.
What we have been achieved in 2001 is we have various discussions with the government on the concept interconnectivity and competitive gas market in order to support 12 BCF per day domestic gas market by 2030. And number 2 is we made the comments on revisions of oil and gas law. And number 3 is we monitor the issues of implementation of ministerial decrees on low gas price for several industries. And for 2002, I think we are going to be doing the same. We're going to keep on the collaborative effort with the government to define the markets for 2030.
Hello everyone. As you may aware, despite of the pandemics, the IPA professional divisions continue to generate revenue for the IPA. There are 2 sources of the revenue. First is our rates of technical catalogs, and second is because of our membership fee. This year, we have slightly increased in our memberships, mostly because of the students member. However, the professional member is actually declining. Therefore, I would like to encourage you and your colleagues professionals to join the IPA and support the IPA. I'm looking forward to hear your support, continued support for the coming years. Thank you.
2021 is not a busy year for RRC. We deal with many regulatory issues ranging from oil and gas bill to various ministerial regulation. We also closely work with other committees on carbon tax, permit simplification, and criminalization of cost recovery dispute. We are happy to report that the government eventually revised MR42 on the crude oil priority to the domestic market and is currently in the final process of revising MR37 on the PI transfer. Next year, we will focus on the oil and gas bill and implementing regulation of the carbon tax. We look forward to another exciting year. Thank you.
Di tahun 2021, Komite SCM IPA telah melaksanakan beberapa hal. 1. Sharing best practice di antara anggota Komite SCM IPA. Yang kedua, maintain networking dengan melaksanakan halal dan partisipasi di dalam IPA Convex 2021. Yang ketiga adalah improve networking dengan komite associate member. Kemudian yang keempat, advokasi terhadap beberapa aturan pemerintah, antara lain PTK 0173 aset manajemen. Kemudian yang kedua adalah petunjuk untuk sertifikasi green tender. Kemudian yang ketiga adalah petunjuk untuk melaksanakan izin PPKA. Di tahun 2022, Komite SCM IPA berencana untuk melaksanakan satu adalah memaintain networking dengan stakeholder, yang kedua sharing best practice, kemudian kerjasama antar komite, dan yang terakhir tetap melanjutkan advokasi aturan-aturan guidance dari pemerintah. Terima kasih.
Presentation, and I know all of you work so hard during this difficult time with the COVID-19. Okay, let's continue. As per the agenda, Ali Nasir from REC will give his presentation on regulatory update. Where are we on key regulations? Ali, time to you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Meti. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, we're gonna provide you with a brief update on key regulation, what have been discussed or what have been achieved, and what are the remaining issues that we will carry forward in 2022. So in 2021, the key regulation that we dealt with, there are 5 actually. The first one is oil and gas bill. As you know, that the government or the parliament actually is keen to finalize the draft or the oil and gas bill in 2022. So they already appointed or the BKD or the expert body for the parliament to draft a new oil and gas bill. The key issues or the main concern that we raised to the BKD, the first one is the ring fencing, tax consolidations, and assumed discharge, legal or contract entity, and criminalization of the civil dispute, and of course the last one, right to export. And many of the issues that we raised to the BKD, they have accommodated that, except the ring fencing. The last time they included, but now they excluded again, but they said that they will consider it again. We have provided our preliminary feedback to BKD, and we already have a discussion with them, and full comments of article by article will be followed very soon. We target to send them our full comments on the bill by end of this year. And the second regulation is the MR42 2018. If you remember, the key issue is that the MR to some extent prohibit us to basically to sell our own portion of the crude oil to international market. We have to, at that time, we had to offer it first to Pertamina. So basically, it's against the right to freely leave, dispose, and export. So fortunately, with the support of IPA board, Gary and Ibu Mary always discuss the issue with Pak Menteri whenever we met with Pak Menteri. So eventually, the government, ESDM, already replaced MR42 with MR18 2021, which now give us flexibility whether we want to do a direct negotiation or direct offer to Pertamina, or we can just simply include Pertamina in the bidding list when we sell our crude oil. That would be satisfy the obligation, not like in the past. This is something that we really appreciate from the government. It's a good progress in 2021. The third regulation we look at is the MR37 to 2016. Pak Gary mentioned before, this is regarding the PI transfer, the 10% PI transfer. As you remember, the key issues, the carry obligation and retroactive application of the regulation. That's our main concern. So again, progress has been made pretty good, even though we have not seen the final revision, but it seems that the government keen to finalize the regulation as soon as possible. They already accommodated our concern on compensation for the carry obligation. So basically, we still have to carry, unfortunately, but the government will give us incentive to compensate the carry obligation. One new thing that they try to introduce is the open-ended offer. So in the current regulations, in the MR37, the obligation to offer the PI just when the POD, we submitted the POD, and the second window is when we extend our PAC. So now apparently, I think the government get a strong push from local governments. They try to introduce the open-ended. So anytime, even though we already submitted our POD in the past, let's say past 5 years, but the local government still have the right for the carry. We strongly objected to that idea and to that provision. We already made it very clear to Pak Nanang in the last discussion, because Pak Nanang is the key person here, and hopefully they can consider it in the revision. And the fourth regulation is the MR14. This one is about the application, the abandonment and site restoration obligation. Our main concern is the application of the regulation to PAC having no ASR obligation. We understand that not many PACs are affected by this one, but we still need to address this because this is contract sanctity. It's not in line with the PAC. So we already submitted our new proposal to SKK Migas, together with the proposal for the revision of GR 53 and GR 27, but we don't see much progress on this one. Maybe the new board or the new president of the board can also take this into consideration in 2022 to be discussed with the government. The last regulation that we look at in 2021 is the tax treaty application. As you understand that the DGT did not allow basically oil and gas industry to apply the tax treaty. But luckily, SKK Migas and ESDM are willing to find a long-term resolution to the BPT dispute. And we have seen some good progress. And we already heard, for example, Exxon already settled the case with SKK Migas and ESDM. That's a very good progress. We are very happy to hear that. And hopefully other PAC can follow the success of Exxon very soon. That's 2021. Now we move to 2022. There are two prospective regulations that I think we have to carefully and closely monitor. The first one is the implementing regulation for law number 7, 2021. As mentioned by Gary briefly before, law number 7, 2021, basically there's a harmonization law on the tax regulation, which also contains a section on the carbon tax. So the law number 7 requires several government regulation and MOF regulation as the implementing regulation of law number 7. So I think there are several points that we need, of course, to discuss with other committees and with the board. But from RRC point of view, the preliminary thinking is that the first thing that we need to ask from the government is that they have to honor the existing contracts, especially the contract that have assume and discharge. So the carbon tax should fall under this assume and discharge principle. And we also need to have a fair carbon emission cap for the oil and gas industry. And also, of course, the government should consider best practice, international best practices on carbon market and trading scheme. And last but not least, I think we also need to push the government or persuade the government to allocate some carbon tax revenue for CCS and CCUS deployment or development. I think the government really need to do that because they also have a high target for carbon emission reduction. And the second regulation that I think is the PR or Presidential Regulation number 98, 2021. This is also related to the carbon emission, basically regulate the economic value of the carbon. And under the PR 98, there's also a requirement that MR regulation will be issued essentially to regulate the contribution from upstream oil and gas as part of the energy sector to reduce carbon emission. So in formulating this regulation, there are at least two points that we need to pay attention to. We need to push the government to give the flexibility to meet the obligation, especially flexibility on the timeline or type of activities that to be performed to meet our obligation under the presidential regulation. And of course, the economic of the project, because the carbon tax will surely affect the economics of the projects. So we also need to ask the government to consider maybe additional incentive to keep the affected projects whole, so we don't suffer that much and the government can achieve the target. So those are the few thinking that we have. Of course, we will closely again discuss this with FNT and also with Energy Transition Committee and of course with the board. I think that's all from RRC, and I sincerely thank you all the members of RRC and the board and Pak Albert for the guidance and Ibu Mary for the support that has been given to RRC in 2021. And we look forward to another challenging year in 2022. Thank you, Ibu Mety and all.
There is one question here from Sarwi. Sarwi is from IMECO, our associate member. He asked, it seems that RUU Migas is not included in the current prolegnas. Any comment from you?
Well, indeed, but I think the Parliament and the Parliament can always change the list of the prolegnas. I think beginning of next year they will revise it. I believe so, because if you hear Pak Maman, member of Commission 7 in Bali, they made a very strong and made it very clear they will finalize their RUU Migas in 2022.
Additional comment, Pak Satya. I think you also can say something about RUU Migas.
Yeah, I spoke with Pak Sugeng yesterday because we had a meeting with him, and he convinced me that even though it's not on the priority list, so he categorized the oil and gas law is the open accumulative law, which is could be done, as long as there is a need, because of the Constitutional Court has instructed to do so. This is according to his interpretations. But in my experience tells me that a little bit difficult if they don't really put into priority list because of this more on the administrative purposes, because of usually if they don't put into priority list, there will be not supported by financial system within the parliaments. But again, when I challenged that, and Pak Sugeng told me that as far as his concern, if the renewables energy bills finish by mid of next year, then there will be a start for a discussion on the oil and gas bill. So I think it's interesting to see the development of the oil and gas bill in the next couple of months, because of there is a little bit uncertainty, in my opinions, about administrative procedure that need to be fulfilled, within the parliaments. I think it's quite strange for me. They don't really put into the priority list.
Thank you, Pak Satya. Before we move to the next presentation, just want to inform you, Ali several times mentioned about meeting with the Minister of ESDM, Pak Arifin, and discuss those regulations that Ali already presented to you. Yeah. And so from time to time, I think 3 times already this year that the board met with Pak Arifin, our ESDM, and that helps us to discuss with his team. Okay, so that's very good. Let's now move to presentation.
Can I just quick question to Pak Ali Nasir?
Sure, Pak Sarvi, please.
Yes, I totally agree with Pak and appreciate for Pak Satya for his promptly respond to communicate with Commission 7. But I would recommend that Pak Ali Nasir also make a special effort to make the RUU Migas put into the prolegnas. I think that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Sarvi. That's good. Let's move to the second presentation, which is from Hendra Halim from Finance and Tax, with the topic of the challenging journey to improve Indonesia's fiscal competitiveness. Okay, Hendra, time to you.
Thank you, Bu Meti. Good morning, Bapak dan Ibu. Bu Meti, can you see my screen now? I just share my screen. Is everyone can see?
Belum ya?
Please.
Belum.
Please share. Please share, please. Belum ya. How about now?
Yeah. Okay.
When Ibu Meti asked me what will be the title for our FNT committee presentation for today AGM, it doesn't take us long time to actually come up with this theme. For the past 12 months, the committee has been working and advocating closely, these few issues that I'm going to cover in the next few slides. Together with the other committee as well as the key external government stakeholders to basically map out what are the industry root cause and how should we address those issues strategically. Hence, the theme, the challenging journey to improve Indonesia fiscal competitiveness seems to be a valid theme for our committee this year. If we go to the next slide, this, in terms of challenges, I think we can break it down into 4 key challenges. As you know, the government is trying to double the production by 2030. This is a very aggressive target within a short period of time. If we break it down into 4 areas of challenges, I would say the massive amount of investment required, which is 200 billion for the next 9 years, or 25 billion per year, while our current investment is only 10 billion per year. So it's more than double that we need to reach the target. And as been mentioned by Pak Gary as well as Bu Meti, 9 years for oil and gas world is a very short window to deliver the target. And on top of that, we have dual challenge, which is increased production. At the same time, we need to reduce our carbon footprint. So this is the last challenges that the committee is need to be focusing, as well as been working for the past 12 months, which is improving the fiscal incentive. Why we need to do so? That's the question, maybe. As we've been hearing, as we've been reading, Indonesia fiscal attractiveness is below global average. So we need to work hard in improving at least to the average. That's the minimum in order to attract 200 billion for the next 9 years. I think we need to be above that average. Okay, so I don't think I will cover this all. I'm just going to pick a few things that might be interesting to you all. If you can read this, pretty much this is a summary of the challenging journey in 2021 that we are facing. It's quite emotionally exhausted in 2021 because of the COVID that we are experiencing, and we lost number of our colleagues as well, and a lot of people got impacted by this COVID. But all in all, I think it was still a productive year, despite all of us working from home. Together, we have overcome many obstacles and improved some of the Indonesia fiscal competitiveness. but still there are a lot need to be done, and yeah, there's a lot of need to be done to attract the massive investment required to reach this 1 million barrel target. So I break it down this into 5 things, which is the first one, the challenges. I think the challenges that we are still facing is the leadership. We've seen an improve in leadership by Minister of Energy, but there are a lot of consent that we or the industry need to obtain from lots of departments. So it's not when Minister Energy is saying one thing, everyone will follow. So it's very challenging where you need to get consent from every single department. And the other things is, I think that the fear of KPK is still quite apparent, which is when we're trying to push certain things, the magic word of state laws sometimes came up quite frequently, and that's make everyone step back and in trying to pursue further on this tax incentive. In terms of lesson learned, I think there is nothing new from last year. Need to be patient. CPP is a consistent, persistent as perseverance is the key to get things done in this country, as well as strong collaboration, as well as a strong engagement with academic as well as consultant. And we found our infographic is also very key to communicate in simple manner, yet fact-based, so everyone can focus on this high-level thing and trying to move things forward. In terms of improvement, you heard from Ibu Meti previously, those are the improvement that we managed to land, contract flexibility, lower FTP, high profit split, and so on. I think that the number one thing that I would like to highlight on this improvement, I think we have seen strong one team spirit with Minister of Energy. I think we start to see eye to eye in terms of the urgency, in terms of what we need to focus. That's a great foundation for us to move forward in 2022. Number 4, in terms of alignment, number 3 is about things that has been landed. Number 4 is about things that we understood each other, and that will be the priority for 2022, which is, like I said, I think Minister of Energy aware and very supportive that we need a radical change. So standard change or normal change won't move the investment climate significantly. So we need radical change. Alignment has also been landed in terms of we need to get assumed and discharge reinstated in 2022. The third one is BPT exemption if profit after tax is being reinvested in Indonesia. The fourth one, Pak Ali mentioned about BPT dispute resolution. This is something that some got more luck than others. So we need to continue working together as a team, as well as continue working with ESDM as well as Kamigas, trying to get this resolved once and for all after working on this issue for almost 2 decades. Next, in terms of next, this is something that we might want to pursue once the number 4 item being landed, which is continue working on additional incentive that we've been talking for a while, which is the tax holiday as well as incentive on doing CCUS and CCS project. Harmonized tax law, as you know, that we had this harmonized tax law issued this year, but we are still waiting for the implementing regulations such as carbon tax as well as the VAT that starting April 2022 we will become fattable firm. the number one priority that we want to make sure is our VAT reimbursement process won't be negatively impacted by changing of that status, because that's cash flow for our industry. Regulatory omnibus law still become the priority. As you know, that is being repealed by MK, Mahkamah Konstitusi, Constitutional Court. And we will be working together with RSC on oil and gas draft bill. So that pretty much the focus for 2022. Next, this is my last slide. So what will be changing in 2022 advocacy strategy? I don't think it won't be that much. We will pretty much repeat the 2021 recipe that I mentioned previously with some tweak and focus. We are really hoping under the new leadership, Pak Irtiza, hopefully we can pass on the message from the committee that IPA hopefully can improve and make a direct connection with the Minister of Finance directly, on top of what we have right now with the Minister of Energy that we already established. I think it is very crucial to get Ibu Sri Mulyani to buy in and strong support if we want to see some radical changes happening in industry. I think we need to make that direct advocate and direct communication with her to explain what we need and provide all the facts that we've been talking to the Minister of Energy directly. So in terms of 4 key strategy, I think we need to continue the high-level engagement. IPA board to continue its regular engagement with minister level directly, including that I mentioned with Ibu Sri Mulyani. And the working team, which is us, continues the strong collaboration with the working team, not only SKK Migas, but including business chambers, university, as well as academies like University of Indonesia that we've been working late this year. And I think this is, we got the good momentum in terms of everyone aware about now or never statement become the buzzword now, and it's coming from Pak Jokowi. A statement, I think you guys quite familiar with this slide that Pak Jokowi include what need to be improved in our industry from fiscal perspective in his independent speech. So we need to continue playing that message over and over and keep reminding that 9 years is very short, 25 billion is required per year. And I think the last thing about now or never portion here is 2024, as we know, early 2024 will be the presidential election year. And I would think 2022, which is next year, will be the latest and very crucial time for us to make radical fiscal improvement. I don't think any big decision will be happening in 2023 because everyone will be busy campaigning maybe. So 2022 is very crucial for us to get this moving fast. Lastly, infographic. I mentioned that was the right and a good strategy last year that we communicate through infographic with this simple and fact-based. We need to renew our infographic, which is to include the energy transition and dual challenge that we are facing, as well as CCUS and CCS item in the infographic, as well as what will happen post-pandemic. Hopefully 2022 will be better year, and what does it mean for oil and gas industry in terms of investment profile, as well as government strategy to track this 200 billion that we need. That's all from me. Any feedback? Happy to listen. Any input from you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Hendra. Any question? from you? Any question? No? Well, Hendra mentioned about challenging journey here. I just want to say that don't be surprised that next year will be still very challenging, because according to us, IPA, next year should be a decision year on the improvement that we talk a lot this year and start implementing it. Yeah, it's really only 9 years away when we talk about production or even for the target of emission reduction. So it's very challenging next year. Okay, if there is no question, no? Okay, if there is no question, let's move to the next presentation by Denny. Denny is from the energy transition. The role of oil and gas industry in the Indonesian energy transition era. Over to you, Denny.
Okay, can you see the presentation slide?
Yes. Yes, we can. Then.
Can we go on the slideshow?
Slideshow, then.
Okay, sure. 1 second. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would like to share an update with you on behalf of the Energy Transition Committee, as well as I would like to share with you what we have done in 2021 and what we are going to do next year in 2022. As the new committee, I would like to introduce to you that the Energy Transition Committee was established early this year, and our focus is on the monitoring and coordinating response of the upstream oil and gas industry in Indonesia to the Indonesian Low Carbon Initiative. We also have the key roles in liaising with the Migas and the government of Indonesia with regard to the energy transition issues.
This microphone.
Yeah. As we understand, as we know that Indonesia is a signatory to the Paris Agreement, and we have already ratified the Paris Agreement with the law number 16, 2016, which become the basis for the government to implement the commitment under Paris Agreement in Indonesia. In a number of international forums, the Indonesian President Bapak Jokowi has consistently reiterated the Indonesian commitment to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, to meet the NDC, and to prepare a plan to achieve zero target. Even actually in November, before leaving for the COP26 in Glasgow, President Jokowi already signed the presidential regulations on the carbon economic value, which set the basis for the undertakings on the carbon emissions, with the intent to meet the national development contributions under the Paris Agreement. Even last week, Pak Jokowi, in the meeting in Bali with the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce, reiterated again that the government need help, support from the business to detail out the plan on how to reduce the carbon emissions and to achieve the goals of becoming the net zero country. Next. As we know that Indonesia is committed to reduce the greenhouse gas by 29% without the international support and 41% with international support. And the energy sector is expected to contribute 11% of the 29%, or equivalent to about 38% of the percent. But we know that the contribution of upstream oil and gas industry to the energy carbon emissions is not significant actually. Furthermore, based on the long-term strategy for the low carbon and climate resilience, Indonesia has set the target to become the net zero country by 2060.
or sooner. And it's based on the three principles. First is increasing the use of the renewable energy. Second is reducing the consumption of fossil fuel. And the third is promoting CCS and CCUS. As we understand and discussed earlier, that Indonesia also set the target to increase the oil and gas production to 1 million barrel oil per day, and also set the target to increase the gas production to 12 BCF per day by 2020. The massive coverage on the low carbon emission reduction and reduction of fossil fuel consumption, in my observation, in our observation, have created the public misperceptions that as if from now on the oil and gas production will no longer needed because it will be soon replaced by the renewable energy or alternative energy, and no government support is needed as well. And hence the sustainability of oil and gas industry will no longer become the priority. But if we look to the Indonesian energy outlook for 2015 and 2050, based on the National Energy Council, it is very clear that the oil and gas will be around for decades to come. Even though we understand that by percentage, the share of oil and gas will be reducing from 69% to 44%, but in terms of volume, the oil will increase up close to 140%, and the gas increase will be close to 300%. Next. On account of the latest development and environment, SK Chemigas already set the active oil and gas carbon initiative will be based on the 6 pillars. What I can say. First is regulatory framework, which will provide the legal framework and carbon emission reduction initiative. For example, that the ratification of Paris Agreement, and then the issuance of presidential regulations on the carbon economic value and the carbon tax. And presently, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources is drafting the minister regulations on CCS and CCUS. Second, on the energy management, SK Chemigas encourage the use of the energy efficient technology to reduce carbon intensity. The third is zero routine flaring. SK Chemigas also urge the industry to optimize the use of associate gas and then to reduce, even actually to set zero to routine flaring. The fourth is to reducing the fugitive emissions, where SK Chemigas suggests the oil and gas industry to optimize and improve the operational system. And then the fifth is the reforestation, where we are advised and also suggested to start the reforestation of the near shore and regreening of the site, and even actually on the site with the critical land outside of the working area. And the last one is on the CCS and CCUS. As we know that the government of Indonesia has established 2 national center of excellence, where Migas has appointed ITB and also Lemigas as the 2 national center for excellence to do the research and development on CCS and CCUS. Again, as I mentioned earlier, that the minister has formed the task force to prepare and contribute in the preparation of the draft minister regulations on CCS and CCUS. And the government also aware that international support is required to progress with the CCS and CCUS projects. Next. I would also like to share the key events happening in 2001. As we may observe that the energy transition issue gained rapid development and wide attention in the energy industry. Many of the webinars, the FGD sharing sessions with regard to the energy transition which was not happening actually in 2021. As I said before, that the President's Regulation on Economic Carbon Value was issued in October. The COP happens in Glasgow in November. The law on tax harmonization also issued, and again the draft of the Minister Regulation on CCS is being drafted. In response to this outside environment, what energy transition has done is that we have identified and engaged the key stakeholders, because it's very important for us to understand who actually the key stakeholders in drafting and preparing the policy and regulations. We have engaged the MIGAS, we have engaged the Ministry of Environment, we have engaged the SKK MIGAS, and also we have engaged the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. We also have been the key contributors for the 2021 IPA Conference. We participate in numbers of discussion, FGDs and webinars, and last month, ETC was given the opportunity to share the knowledge on the CCS and CCUS at the SKK MIGAS Legal Forum, and we have a positive response from the participants. We also sent a number of the representatives to sit in the task force to discuss and provide comments on the Ministry of Regulations on CCS and CCUS. Next. And what the ETC plan to do in 2001, we continue to engage and advocate with key stakeholders. Based on our experience in the last years, the key government stakeholder will be the Ministry of Energy and Resources, and then MIGAS, SKK MIGAS, the Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, as well as the Ministry of Finance, because certainly as the oil and gas industry, we have to be in the same opinion, in some view with MIGAS, SKK MIGAS, and the Ministry of Energy and Resources, as well as we need to also convey the same message altogether with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of the Environment and Forestry. Ministry, as for your information, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry is the key players in the government ministry to set and achieve, and tasked by the government to achieve the NDC as well as to the net zero in 2060. The second point, second key stakeholder that we think important as well is the public. Again, we have to work together with the Center of Excellence, whether it is ITP or LEMIGAS. We have to start engaging as well the university and the trade union. As shared with you earlier, there is a misconception again that during the transition, energy transition era, the oil and gas industry need no support from the government because it's the history of the industry. Second, we would like to also to continue actively participate in knowledge sharing agreements, be as a participant or the presenter. Therefore, I would like to urge each and every one of us to participate in knowledge sharing. It's not only about sharing knowledge, but also to signify our presence as the oil and gas industry, to convey the strong message to the to public that oil and gas industry will still play the significant role in providing energy to this country, and the success of the energy transition will be depending on the success and sustainability of oil and gas industry. The third, we will continue to actively participate in the drafting of the regulations, because in 2 or 5 years to come, there will be massive implementing regulation as mandated by the presidential regulation on the carbon economic value. There will be more than 10 implementing regulations is mandated under the presidential regulation. And the fourth strategy is to continue to carry out internal regular meetings. We have the bi-weekly meetings and knowledge sharing meetings, because as the new committee, we have very diverse members. It's very good for us to share knowledge from different angles. we also collaborate with other committee in the IPA to make sure that we are aligned. Next. And this is actually the key message that we consistently deliver in any of the occasion of operation that we have. That the first, the availability, affordability, and sustainability of energy is one of the enablers to support Indonesian economic growth. The energy transition is a long journey, and the sustainability of fossil fuel industry is imperative to the success of the energy transition. The upstream oil and gas industry is committed to work together with the government to meet its dual challenge, to increase oil and gas production and at the same time to lower carbon emission. CCS and CCUS is one of the upstream oil and gas industry strategy to lower carbon emission. Viability of CCS project will require support from governments, including flexibility of financing scheme, incentive, cost and revenue sharing, and regulatory framework. And then the last one is support from the government is needed to allow the industry to contribute in the upstream oil and gas carbon emission reduction initiatives. That's all my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Danny. Any questions? Oh, just want to inform you that it's actually very amazing. IPA formed this committee in January, and right after the forming of this committee, IPA already did a lot of discussion, advocacy to many stakeholders, and talking about the energy transition, about the carbon emission reduction. That's also one of the big focus in our convention this year. And I don't think that next year for this focus, IPA will be slowing down. No, we will have more discussion, like mentioned already by Danny, that some of the people in that committee actually involved in the task force of drafting the minister regulation on CCS and CCUS. Okay. Question? No?
A quick question, Pak Denny.
Sure, Pak.
Do you think that the recent presidential decree number 98 on the economic carbon pricings is sufficient for our members? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Sarwi. As mentioned earlier, that the presidential regulations on the carbon adequate value set the basis. If we look and read the regulation, it's clearly mandated numbers, more than 10 of implementing regulations, because the carbon adequate value regulations is the tools for the government to achieve the nationally determined contributions, which can be achieved with two strategies. First is on the carbon climate, climate change mitigation, which is how to reduce actually carbon emissions. And second is through the climate change adaptation and how to prepare the country, the business, the people actually to adapt with the climate change. Therefore, whether it is sufficient, of course not sufficient, but this is the foundation for the country to reduce carbon emissions, and the foundation for the country to achieve its target to become the net zero country by 2060. Thank you.
Okay, let me add something, Meti, with regard to this new presidential decree. I've attended a meeting that chaired by Pak Luhut a week ago about the implementations of the presidential decree on the carbon pricing. It is quite complicated in terms of the scope, because of carbon pricing implementation cannot be done just solely by one minister. So it has to be integrated with several ministers. And the government would like to build the ecosystem of the carbon neutrals, at the end by 2060. So that's where all the minister has a task Then Pak Luhut in his meeting, he's mentioned that he's trying to build at least 6 or 7 working groups, to establish in several ministers on the implementation of that regulations. So Minister of Energy, of course, is part of it. Minister of Home Affairs even is also part of it. And Minister Industry, Environment, of course, and several ministers. So I like actually if possible for IPA to monitor. I don't know, probably Pak Denny, later on I'm going to introduce you to one of the working group that dealing with the oil and gas sectors. So at least the IPA will understand, the mechanisms of the carbon pricing itself. Because the carbon tax that now will be imposed soon, it cannot be done just without the ecosystem being built by the government. Because the carbon tax, it seems to me that it is just for the additional revenue for the governments, nothing to do with adaptation and mitigation of the climate change. See, Ibu Sri Mulyani is deducted the carbon taxes merely for the revenue of the governments. So what we like in the carbon pricing mechanisms, we like that the government revenue from the carbon tax, it has to be contributed to the adaptation and mitigation of the climate change. Otherwise, it's quite difficult, for the government at the moment, to get the funding, for the adaptation and mitigation. So the president's speech in the opening on the COP26 is quite, President Jokowi's speech is quite fundamental. He said that we need get support from the developed country on the climate finance. Indonesia cannot be done by themselves, because of we need to get support from international community. Now, time for Indonesia to see their commitment. Like Norway, commitment has not been really implemented well at the moment. They promised about $1 billion, but turn up 1 billion NOx, and the reality just only $104 million. It's within almost 10 years since SBY was in power. So that a lot of international commitment need to be shown and need to be proved to us. You see, while we are establishing our own mechanism systems, by having the presidential decree. I think there's still not long way to go, but at least still ongoing process that we need to monitor, from time to time. Otherwise, oil and gas sector will feel that you got another additional tax, and you will ask a national additional incentive because you don't know what's to do after that, because it's a challenge to our economic value, in the oil and gas sectors. I think probably special task force like been formed and chaired by Pak Denny. I think it's a good way to do. And now it's time for to engage more with the community that is being established within the Pak Luhut administration. That's probably my additional information. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Satya. Very good additional information. Okay. Next is the presentation from SCM from Pak Ferry with the topic of unlocking the SCM potential through collaboration and simplification of business process in upstream oil and gas industry. Ferry, time to you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Meti, and good morning, everyone. I think it's an honor for SCM committee to have a chance to deliver the presentation during, I think it's a golden year, for annual general meeting in IPA, Okay, this theme is about unlocking the potential SCM, through collaboration and simplification of business process in upstream oil and gas industry. So on behalf of supply chain committee, I will deliver the presentation. And in this opportunity, I would like to give the appreciation and thank you to all the members for the contribution and involvement during this tough year. 2021 is continue from 2020 regarding the pandemic situation. So the
this is the member listed, and this is the mission in SCM committee. Yeah, we still keep it as our mission as a strategic partner to stakeholders to support the government and PSG target effectively and efficiently. Okay, next. Yeah, even though very tough years as the continuation from 2020, however, the SCM committee have done many activities and many contribution for the improvement. So the business process, the activity more effective and efficient. Yeah, especially in the area of supply chain management to support better investment climate and maintain the competitiveness in Indonesian upstream oil and gas industry. Basically, many of achievement, but we can highlight here is 3 key achievement, 3 improvement in the area of supply chain management. First is related with the optimization, the utilization of integrated national single window online system, which basically for processing master list. So by using this system, yeah, especially in this year, which compared with previously only able to accommodate master list process in SKK Migas only. As we know that basically the master list process involving not only SKK Migas, but also with Dijen Migas and also with Bea Cukai or custom. So in early 2021 was optimized the system by including the process in Dijen Migas and in Dijen Bea Cukai. So what is the impact? It has been simplifying the business process and shorter the lead time from previously average could be a month and now it's only a few days. Yeah, I think this is a very good initiative and system collaboration among the institution in the government. And then the second one is related with the procurement process under PTK 007 Book 2 Amendment number 4 issued on 7 June 2021. With cooperation with SKK Migas, the 2 things, yeah, improvement in this PTK is first is related with the authority arrangement of joint contract or farm-in between cost recovery and gross split PSGs. One of the example, yeah, after issued this amendment is the risk sharing between Premier Oil and also Repsol. Premier Oil under gross split and Repsol under cost recovery. It already contribute the significant cost optimization impact. Yeah. So by having this clause, yeah, it will create more cost optimization. Yeah. And then another thing under this amendment number 4 is related with allowable for mirroring or the use of the appointment method to transfer contract during the transfer of the work area management. Yeah. Especially this year is related with the transfer of the work area between Chevron to Pertamina Rokan. Yeah. By using this clause, yeah, it helped a lot. Yeah. And for the upcoming years, I think more work area will be transferred. And then the third one is, I think within internal IPA, yeah, we can improve networking with IPA associate members. Yeah, in one of the regular SCM committee meeting, especially in October 2021, with the expectation to improve communication. Yeah, this is the honestly, this is the first time between SCM and associate member committee. And during that meeting, we can share the best practice and also give an input for better SCM business process. That's for 2021. So what is the expectation for 2022? So I think still continue. Yeah, SCM committee program in 2022 will focus on collaboration among members in channeling advocacy on the deregulation of process and strategic improvement with SCM area. And in order to have better collaboration, SGM will conduct regular meetings among the operator members as well as with the associate members. And also, I think aligned with the challenge is related with the energy transition and also to support the government vision to achieve the target production in 2030. Yeah, SGM committee will continue to cooperation with government. I think that's all, Bu Meti and all the presentation from SGM committee, and happy to have a feedback or question. Thank you.
Question?
Yes, Bu Meti.
Any question from the audience? I think this committee did a lot of good work. Yeah, during the difficulties with pandemic, they work a lot with the government, SKK Migas and also Migas to improve the system. That's something that we already wanted actually from years ago, and now they use this momentum to work and making improvement, and I'm sure that that business process will be very helpful even after the pandemic. Thank you.
There's one question.
Oh yeah,
one
question. Yes,
from Ibu Rini there.
Yeah,
silakan Rini.
Silakan Pak Albert.
Siapa
Or Bu Rini.
No, Pak Ferry. Thank you.
Okay, Bu Rini.
Question from me. I say nice.
Welcome. Yeah.
Okay. If there is no question, yeah, we move to the next item in the agenda, the plan for the IPA Secretariat Office move. Slide, please, Posma. Belum. Okay. I think all of you know, right, that our IPA office is in the BEJ or Bursa Efek Indonesia building. Yeah. But it will be expired, the office rental, in end of February next year, 2022. So around less than 3 months. Yeah. Because of that, we already started the plan for the office, whether we want to stay there or not. Well, just want to inform you that lately the IPA finances are not very good. Yeah, among others because of the current pandemic. So that last year, for instance, we could not make the convention and less courses. Yeah, that's some of the income of IPA. And because of that, we were thinking already since a year ago how we can reduce the office cost, the rental office. So after looking for several possibilities, yeah, already 6 months actually, then we found the right location. That's at the Pondok Indah Office Tower 1. Yeah, we know that we have some other oil and gas company in the same complex, just different tower or building. Yeah. Well, the contract with Pondok Indah Tower 1 is for 3 years, and that start 1st March of 2022. With that moving, for 3 years, we will save costs of the office rental around 757 million rupiah or around $54,000 US. That's already include the cost that we have to spend for moving. You all know that when we move, we have to spend a lot of money, yeah, to build the new office. I mean, the construction and dismantling the current office. And we believe if we later extend after 3 years we extend, then we will see more saving. Yeah, that's why we move. And then we already mentioned in detail to the IPA board about this plan, and we get the support. So the timeline of the office, the IPA office is starting December the 1st, the IPA Secretariat personnel have moved to temporary actually office, and that's at the Pondok Indah Office Tower 3. Yeah, that's a co-working for 3 months only before we have our new office. Yeah, and on the 6th December, yeah, so this month, we start the construction of, at the Pondok Indah Office Tower 1, that's for the new office, and reinstate the office in Bursa Efek, yeah, because we have to make that as the form before, yeah. Okay, so the 1st March, sorry, the 1st March, the IPA Secretariat will officially start working at the Pondok Indah Office Tower 1. For these 3 months, if you have letters that you want to send to IPA, we'll give you later, but that's to the, you should go to the, you should send that to the Pondok Indah Office Tower 3, where we have our temporary office. We will send to all of you the new address for that, okay? Just want to inform you what is the difference between the old office and the new office so that we can reduce the cost a lot. One is, of course, the rent cost in Pondok Indah office is much cheaper compared with the Bursa Efek, yeah, office. But not only that, we bring down the size from 354 square meter to 184. And that's mostly because in the previous office, we had 7 closed offices. Now only 1 closed offices, and the other office will be open, cubicle type. Yeah, but we will have a little bit bigger board room meeting so that we can accommodate a better protocol for distance between seats. That's for the healthy protocol that we are now using. Yeah, okay, so that's about the office move from Bursa Efek building to Pondok Indah Tower 1. Thank you. Any question on this office move? No? Okay. Let's continue with the financial report. Okay, financial report. The item that I would like to mention in this financial report are, next slide, please. The 2020 highlights, 2021 highlights, and then the actual 2020 versus the financial outlook of this year, 2021. And then let's see a picture of the revenues versus expenditure in the last 5 years. And what are the issues there? And I would like to inform you some solution on the tax issues that we got just recently. Next slide, please. Okay. Compare with the 2 years before, compare with 2019, the revenue of 2020 last year, yeah, decreased drastically, and that's because we did not have convention and exhibition last year. We did have a digital presentation convention, but there were no revenue from that, not from the registration, not from the sponsorship, yeah, and that's caused the revenue reduction. But we managed to also reduce the expenditure of all committees, and that's mainly because of all meetings were done online. Okay, at the end of last year, IPA ended in deficit position of IDR 2.7 billion rupiah.
That's for the year.
For that year only. Yeah, for that year only. Okay. Let's look at the 2021 highlights. It's not actual yet, but based on actual until October and estimation of the last 2 months. Okay. Compared to 2020, the estimated revenue for 2021, we think will increase a little bit. And that's mainly because of the convention and exhibition that we did in September. I know it's not big, yeah, and we did not have revenue from the registration, but we did have some sponsorship. So we get that, yeah. The expenditure of this year also will decrease a little bit as a result of no rental space for business meetings. So all meetings are either, I think it's online, all inline. So we did not have spending for rental outside IPA office. Yeah, but even decrease, we also include part of the IPA office moving. I already mentioned to you about the IPA office moving, and 20% of the cost is included in 2021. The other 80% will be for next year. Yeah, so around 300 million rupiah. Yeah, because the total moving cost is 1.4 billion rupiah. Okay. At the end of 2021, IPA estimated deficit is around 2.4 billion rupiah. So still deficit. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Okay, just want to show you here that compare the 2020 actual with the full year estimation forecast for 2021. We can see there that in this year the revenue increase increase a little bit, but from yesterday discussion with some people, I think we will have more. We will have more than 6.8. Okay, and then the expenditure is about the same, just reduce a little bit from 9.3 billion to 9.2. Well, the same, 9.3 both. Yeah. And that's why the deficit is 2.4, but we already included there the 20% cost for office move, the around 300 million rupiah. Okay, one more thing that I would like to show is you see that convention, the convention surplus, the postman, tolong show. The convention surplus, usually we get 5 point something billion rupiah from convention. This year we got, but not much. It's 860 million rupiah. Yeah. So the normal revenue is 5.6 from the convention.
So sorry, just a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
But we haven't got all that money yet. We're still year to date. We've only got about half of that from the convention.
Oh yeah, because of the what do you call it? The terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll get it this month then.
Yes, that's true. So it's not like one time. Here's our deal. No. Like three times. Okay. Okay, thank you. Next slide is about, okay. Let's have a look at our revenue versus expenditure in the last 5 years. The red and blue is the revenue. The gray is the expenditure. Okay. And then the yellow, the dark yellow is either deficit or surplus. There are 3 times in the last 5 years that we have the deficit. One is in 2017 when we spend money for doing the evaluation for gross split, helping the government. At that time, we asked IHS to do the study, and that's why we are deficit. Okay. And in the last 2 years, that's mostly because of the revenue reduced a lot due to either no convention 2020, or yes, we do have a convention, but a much smaller revenue because of no registration fee in 2021. What I would like to see here, take a look at the gray area in the chart. Our revenue reduce a lot from time to time. So that's something that the association need to think on how we handle that. I don't show other slide here about that, but actually in our review with Kevin is the treasury of the board here, we already have outlook for the next 5 years, and that include if the situation is not getting better with the pandemic, and the other option is if the situation is getting better. So that's something that we need to have a better evaluation and make some decision to handle this. But one big decision already done, which is office move to a place and cheaper rental costs. Okay. Next slide. I think this is the last slide of this financial report. Maybe not all of you know about this, but in 2017, after checking our 2015 financial, the tax office declared that IPA is a taxable enterprise, PKP, even though several years before 2015, the Supreme Court already made decision that we are not a taxable enterprise, PKP, but they still saying that we are a taxable enterprise, and because of that, additional tax payment is implemented. You know the system, we have to pay first, even though we file a lawsuit, but we have to pay first. Okay, so that's what we did, yeah. And in 2021, IPA wins the lawsuit, yeah. So IPA will get a refund for the tax that has been paid, provided no review of court decision or PK filed by the tax office. We don't know yet whether they will file a PK or not. But from the evaluation done by the Supreme Court and I think some institution, the Supreme Court already identified that many cases like us, yeah, actually they have a basic to not say that we are a taxable enterprise because already mentioned by the Supreme Court before, but the tax office just want to put a different decision, but then they did not win in the Supreme Court. So because of that, there is a, what do you call it? Supreme Court asked the tax office to consider again, not just put every time there's a lawsuit, just put a PK. No, because that's not good. Okay, but we are still waiting for the decision of tax office whether they want to put a PK or not. Okay, I think that's all from me on the financial report. Any question?
Maybe one thing for the membership. So despite the fact that we've had deficits this year and last year, we still have a reasonably healthy balance.
Yes,
correct?
yes, okay.
Did we mention that?
Yeah.
So we're not.
Okay.
It's not like we're in debt. Yeah, we
yes,
still
yes.
have a positive cash balance.
Yes.
Right?
So what I show you is the year by year, either surplus or deficit. But if we see our total financial, it's not negative. There's no debt. Yeah. But we just need to be very careful in handling our financial. That's all I would like to say.
Well, I think I'd add maybe that one of the reasons that you made the decision or proposed to the board that we move office is it will save us about $60 million or $50,000 a year or $700 million a year, which puts the IPA on a much more sustainable basis.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the announcement. You all know that we finished our election in October and November this year, and that's for the IPA Supervisory Board and Board of Directors, yeah, for next year. Yeah, actually it's for start December, actually. I would like to show you the name as a result of that election. Okay. From that election, yeah, Satya Widya Yuda will continue as the IPA Supervisory Board. Thank you, Satya, and looking forward to continue working with you next year. Okay, but Satya is here, right?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now I would like to mention the name of the board of directors. Please, when I mention your name, can you say something board so that the member can see you and know, oh, this is our board, okay? Well, Irtisa is elected as the new president of IPA. Yeah, but like I mentioned to you, he's not here with us today because of flying to US. So Irtisa Sayed, that's from ExxonMobil, and then the vice president is Ronald Gunawan from Medco. Ronald, everybody know Ronald? Okay, I think Ronald is here with us actually. Oh, okay, that's Ronald.
Ya, selamat pagi semua. Morning.
Okay, Greg Coleman, Vice President from Repsol Sakakemang. Greg, are you here?
Selamat pagi.
Oh, okay, that's Greg. And then as a secretary, Pak Taufik Aditya Warman from Pertamina Hulu Energy. Pak Taufik.
Morning, everyone.
Okay. And then we have Kevin Moore as our treasurer from Husky Anugrah. Kevin is here with me.
Thank you, Ibu Mary.
Yeah. And then Nader Zaki from BP Brau. I think Nader also not attending this meeting, even though we have somebody from BP actually attending this meeting. And then Pak Albert Simanjuntak from Chevron Pacific Indonesia. Pak Albert, where are you?
Selamat pagi, ibu-ibu dan bapak-bapak. Thank you, Bu Mary.
Okay, yeah. The next director is Christine Lloyd from ConocoPhillips. Is Christine joining us? No, okay, no. And then Diego Portuguese from Eni Muara Bacau.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, that's Diego, my neighbor now, because in the same complex office.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And then Pak Kian Ming Yang from PetroChina. I think he's also traveling, yeah, so cannot attend this meeting. He's new member of the board, yeah. Looking forward to work with you, Pak Kian. And then Pak Yusaini from Petronas. Okay, Pak Yusaini, I think you're here.
Ya, selamat pagi ibu-ibu, bapak-bapak. Nice meeting you. I'm the newest member. So selamat bergabung. So hopefully we'll meet everyone later on to get to know everyone here. I'm already in Jakarta since 2 weeks ago. So pleased to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. And then Gary Selby from Premier, our 2021 IPA president. I think everybody knows Gary, right?
I'm looking forward to a slightly quieter year in 2022.
Okay, and then Pak Afep Disasmita from Saka. I think Pak Afep also could not attend, yeah, because of other important meeting. Okay, so that's the board, director and our supervisory board. Looking forward to work with you, board, yeah. Okay, and then I would like to show you the list of the committee. It's good because not everybody knows about the list, yeah. Okay, number one, I think, is the associate members. Now the chairperson is Devan, yeah. and the vice chair is Punky. We have the BOD liaison actually, but this is just suggested. We need to meet with the board to make some changes if needed. Yeah, so that's just the suggested liaison. And then the convention for next year, yeah, that's Aziz Alam from Exxon, yeah, that's the chairperson, and we do have 3 vice chair, which is Evita from Conoco, Hari from Exxon, and then Leo from BP. And then environment and safety, we have PP as the chair, and then Teguh from Exxon as the vice chair. Energy transition, you all already met with Denny as the chairperson from BP, and vice chair Krishna from ENI. EOR and unconventional, the chair is Andi Bahtiar from Pertamina and Areza from Pertamina. Ethic and Compliance Committee, chaired by Ronnie from Medco, and Vice Chair Raditya from BP. And Exploration, the chairperson is Rina from Husky, and Vice Chair Agung from Exxon. Finance and Tax, Hendra Halim from BP is the chair, and then the Vice Chair is Zara from Premier. Human Resources just changed their chairperson, now Ayu from Exxon, and then they are still not making decision on the vice chair. Okay. LNG and Gas Committee is Joe Rizal from Husky, and the vice chair is Teresa from Repsol. Professional Division chairperson is Leo from BP Indonesia. And the Regulatory Affairs, you already met the chairperson, Ali, yeah, from Premier, and then the vice chair, Hardy from BP Indonesia. And then the last one is Supply Chains Management. The chairperson is Ferry, the one who just made presentation, and the vice chair, Lily from Inpex. So those are the 13 committees that we have, yeah. Please make sure that you have your people to be included in the committee or in some of the committees so that you can have involvement, contribution when discussing things with the government. Okay. Any question, comment on the result of the election? Okay, if no, let's continue with the speech of the 2022 IPA President, Pak Irtiza Syed from Exxon.
Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My apologies for not being present in person today and attend the IPA annual general meeting as I'm on business travel to Houston for the World Petroleum Congress. However, I'm very pleased to at least record a message for you. On behalf of the IPA, I want to first thank Gary and pass on our utmost gratitude for leading the IPA during one of the most challenging periods for the industry. The manner in which you represented us with the government officials was very effective, and collectively, we made progress on our respective initiatives. Thank you once again, Gary, for all of your efforts. I also want to thank the board in entrusting me with the IPA president's role, and I'm personally looking forward to working with each one of you as we collectively look to continue to make progress within the energy sector in Indonesia. As an industry, historically speaking, we've done rather well in managing some of the toughest challenges. And more importantly, we've always adapted to the needs of the environment around us. I firmly believe that it's our time to lead again and evolve as the world looks to move to a lower carbon future. The reality, though, is that the transition is likely to be very rocky if the industry us, the energy sector, is not involved in a meaningful way. There is no dispute that a lower carbon future is what's needed and what's on order. However, it's equally important for us to showcase and highlight why oil and gas remain critical to the stable supply of energy and continued economic development for years to come, particularly in countries like Indonesia, as a developing country where economic development is outpacing most countries around the world. An important role, which I believe the IPA can uniquely play, is to help the government of Indonesia develop the energy transition plan. I'm personally looking forward to working with all members of the IPA to address this very significant challenge and incorporate the needs of the entire industry. I fully recognize that super majors, mid-size or small-size companies have a different outlook towards the future and the oil and gas sector specifically. However, I'm of the strong opinion that these views can be complementary to each other and will help formulate a strong and executable plan for the government. Switching gears a little bit, in 2021, we did a good job in engaging with the government officials, such as the ESDM Minister or SKK Migas, and I'm hoping to build on this further with more frequent engagements with the key decision makers and, of course, yourselves. An area which I believe can support us in making even further headway is proactive dialogue and communications with other key ministries, such as the Ministry of Finance or Environment. Helping other stakeholders understand the industry's views on our business outlooks will pay dividends with time. In summary, I want to thank you for entrusting me with leading the IPA next year, and I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you, representing each of your views to the fullest extent, and most importantly, developing a sound energy transition plan towards a lower carbon future in which oil and gas supplies remain critically important for years to come. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Okay, that's the speech of our new IPA president. I still would like to give a little bit time if there is question on any presentations that we have this morning. Anything, question, suggestion? Okay, if there is no, then we'll come to the closing. But if you have any input, please feel free to send me a note, an email, yeah, so that I can working with the board and the committees to do whatever you needed for us in discussing things with the government. Okay, so.
Ibu Mehdi, will we put these presentations and the committee reports online on our website?
Okay. The committee report, we have the committee report. A week from now, we will send to you the link, yeah, so that we can open it and all the presentations today. Yeah, that's for you. Yeah, in the past we put that in a printed form. Now we will put that in our web. Yeah, so actually the same with the past, but different form. Okay. So thank you all for the participation in this meeting. Before we close this meeting, I would like to inform you.
Sorry, question.
Oh, sorry. It's open.
From Pak Agung.
Please, if you have question.
Devon said something.
Devon, are you going to ask something, say something, please?
Bu Mehdi, Pak Gary, if I may to just posted a general question to you. First is thank you so much for your excellent leadership to the IPA. But if there is any thought in your mind while you're working on this year, what you think you're going to be passing on to the new committees or the new board about the focus area that you like to be the focus, and also what is the key lesson learned that you like to pass on as well to us? Thank you.
Okay, Agung, we will talk more about that. That's a very good one. Yeah, okay. Any other? Stefan, I think you have something to say, right? Oh, it's still mute?
Yeah, no, it's a quick question I had really, whether or not I see it's being recorded. Will we get access to the recording?
Yes, this is recorded.
Yes, recording. Yes.
So, but will we get access to the recording? I missed.
Yes, we can. Yes, we will. Osman is here to make sure that yes, we can. Okay. Okay. Before I close, I would like to inform you some important meetings for next year. But just before that, want to inform you something that I just knew this week. The government is now adding one more what you call it item in their improvement. Start today, they are going to have a discussion this afternoon actually in Bandung about to improve the attractiveness of unconventional shale oil and shale gas. Yeah. So what I would like to say is this is not something that in the past IPA did a lot of focus. We did a lot of focus until I think 2016. Yeah, but not after that. So now it becomes something that the government would like to open again. So if you have some interesting, please send me a note. We can put you in the committee that handle this, and then we can work with SKK Migas and Migas for this. Yeah. So that one thing. And on important meetings for next year, in January, the BOD, the Board of Directors and the Supervisory Board will meet to decide the 2022 strategic planning. That we usually do that in January. Yeah. Actually, every month there will be a monthly board meeting, but twice a year we will have an extended participant in the Board of Director meeting, where the representative of the company members are invited. The purpose of this extended BOD meeting is to give the members the opportunity to discuss in more detail, yeah, the issues being worked by the board and by the committee. Yeah. And in the monthly board meeting, we will always have the representative of the associate member. So associate member, if you want to say something or to know about the detailed discussion in the board, you can ask your representative. This year is Devan. I don't know next year whether you want to choose another person or not, but yes, you have your representative in the board meeting monthly. Okay. And I mentioned already that for the committee, please make sure that you have your people in at least some of the committees. Yeah. And Gary already mentioned that for the 2022 IPA convention, which this time chaired by Aziz from Exxon, we'll have a discussion soon on how we can work with the government in complement the IOG. So we can work together and not just duplicating things. Yeah. Okay. That's all from me, and I think that's the end of the AGM this year. Yeah.
The question from Parago on 2022 objectives and lessons learned. The question for Parago.
Oh, yes.
I can maybe manage.
Okay.
Yeah, just on. I think Parago asked the question about any of the major lessons learned, or what are we handing over to the new president, the new committee.
Yep.
I think we've touched on it a couple of times already during some of the presentations, but I think for me, if I had to pick one area for additional attention or focus in 2022, I think what we've seen is we've got very good collaboration with ESDM and Migas and SKK Migas. I think where there's room for improvement is the collaboration with the other ministries. And we have tried this year, we've tried different ways to approach, mainly MOF, to be honest. Ministry of Finance, I think, are key to a lot of the issues that we're facing, and a lot of they're key to unlocking a lot of the incentives that we think we need to achieve the targets, production targets. So I think that is a continued area of focus for the new board and the new president is to think about how we can access and influence Ministry of Finance, Ministry of the Environment more effectively than we have done in the past. Of course, we need to work hand in hand with ESDM and SKK Migas, but perhaps we need to try and elevate things, whether it's via Paluhut or possibly via some of the embassies and some of the links that we have via the various chambers of commerce, etc. But for me, that's going to be key to unlocking some of these issues in 2022 is improving our alignment with Ministry of Finance.
Okay, I just would like to add here that next year is the year for making decisions and implement the improvement. I'm not saying that this year there is no improvement, because if under ESDM, yeah, we saw the improvement in the bidding round, for instance. But for the other minister, we need to have a better alignment in the higher level. This year we have good alignment with the teams under them, but to finalize things, we need them. We need the ministers from other from non-ESDM team. Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you to all of you. Looking forward of working with you next year. Not an easy year, but I think we can do it together with a better result. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Meti. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Meti.
Bye.
Thank you, Pak Giri.
Yeah,
Thank you.
stay safe, stay
Thank you, Pak
healthy.
Giri.
Thank you, Pak Giri. Thank you, Bu Meti and all.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Pak Giri.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well done, Pak Giri.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Meti, Pak Giri, Pak Kevin.
Ya, terima kasih.
And perfect timekeeping. When does that happen? Perfect timekeeping.